Hi there, I'm Holly from Your Past is a Gift. Now today, I wanted to talk about forgiveness. Now in previous videos, I talked about how to forgive in your heart, that you no longer need to hold on to this resentment for the person or that grudge. Now, I've been, surfing on the internet, and I've found a lot of people are asking, how do you know when you have forgiven? And today I'm going to tell you exactly how you know. I'm going to give you a tool today. Okay? So, I want you to think about that person. Okay? This person that you're not sure if you've forgiven them or not yet. Okay? And you want to know for sure, have I forgiven them? Even if they've said they're sorry. Some people will come to you and say, look, I'm so sorry. They change in their life. Somehow they've shifted and they've realized, that they didn't mean to, hurt you in any way. It wasn't their intention. They were doing the best that they could do given what had happened to them already in their life. This is so important for you to understand. I'm going to say it again. The people in your life that have hurt you were doing the best that they could do given their experiences in their life. Okay? Now, once you get to a point where you can understand that person and you can see the human being in that person, the person that's, that's in so much pain, that did this to you. They themselves were in so much pain. And they did this to you. Okay? Now, once you get to a point where you can see the human being in them and forgive that human being, with or without the sorry, because someone can come up to you and say they're sorry. This is where I was going with the conversation. And you'll say, okay, and you'll hug and you'll cry and you'll, great. But you haven't forgiven. I can promise you that you have not let it go, because they've said they're sorry. They've shifted their thinking. They've realized in their life. But you haven't changed anything yet. You see, they've gone through the process and they've changed. They've realized. And even though you cry and you hug them and you accept their apology, okay, at the time, you haven't gone back to that moment to process it so that you can change from there. So forgiveness, when it comes to forgiveness, you don't need that person's apology. Whether they do or they don't, it's not going to change or affect whether you've forgiven or not. And so what you need to think about today is, and here's the tool, you know when you've forgiven that person, because you can think about that person and not have any bad feelings or any bad thoughts anymore. Okay, my example. Okay, for the longest time I was so angry with my mum. So angry. Just a few nights ago my husband was talking about he was terrified when he was going to meet them, because at the time I was so angry with my mum. I can't say I hated my mum, but it was almost at that point, right? I was so angry. And I was really angry with my sister at this point as well. So the two of them. So he was saying he was terrified of meeting them, because of how I felt. And this all came about because we were watching, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the second one, where you've got Gamora, Nebula, and their hatred for each other and the dynamic of that relationship, And so he remembered. He said, oh, I remember I was terrified of meeting your sister because, of how much you two hated each other as well. And so, at that time, yes, I could not think of my mum and I could not think of my sister without my anger flaring up, and just all these feelings. I was just enraged whenever I thought about them at any time, even through the good times, that we had lots of good times together as a family, But when I wasn't with them, when I was here and I'd met my husband and we were going out, at that time I was very angry with them. very, very angry. And I just couldn't think of my mum or my sister and feel good in any way, So, in your heart, that's why I say, listen to your feelings. Listen to them, because they're telling you all the time, where you are in your life. They're always guiding you. They're your friends. And so think about that person today. Think about them really carefully. And then follow your thoughts. What are you thinking about that person? Are you just looking at them as who they are, who they really, really are? No good, no bad, no judgment. Just accepting who they really are. And with that, you have a feeling of peace inside that they did the best they could. They didn't know how to do anything any better. They didn't. They didn't have the tools. They didn't have the knowledge. Their experience of life was completely different, to what I've been through or what my parents have been through, or everyone is different, their experiences that they've grown up with. And once you can see that human being just as they are, not good, not bad, but just as a person that's a product of their experiences. This is the result of what they've been through. And when you can look at that moment and decide, well, I was a child. I was an innocent child. And it's not my fault, and I'm not to blame for what they did. When you can accept that moment from both sides, then you can start to see yourself as a beautiful human being that is worthy of love, that is good enough, that is smart enough, that is beautiful enough, that all the enoughs that you can think about. You are enough. You are enough. Just as you are, you're enough. And once you can start to see that, I think there's two most important ones. One is the enough, being enough as you are. And the second one is that you're worthy. Just because someone couldn't show you love doesn't mean that you're not lovable, or that you can't give love. It's inside of you. It's inside of you. It's just many of us, because of our experiences, we're too scared to love. We're too afraid because of what might come. But that event, that experience has been. It's done. You can't change it. We're not here to change it. We're here to change, your thoughts on who you are based on that experience. Who you are. Who are you? So forgiveness comes when you can think of that person and no longer have any bad feelings going on inside or bad thoughts. You just look at them, and for the most part, now when I look at my mom and I'm overwhelmed with sadness, sometimes that she had such a hard childhood, and that she gave us so much, considering that she had such a hard childhood. She still gave so much of herself to us, and I just think of her now, and she's incredibly brave, incredibly strong for what she's been through. And I see all of that, and I see that she loved me, and now I can allow myself to love her back, without needing an apology, because she did the best she could. She didn't know any better. And that understanding comes from going through this process. With my sister, the same. I can't help but think of her, and I feel sorry. I feel bad that in the sense of, that mum was always comparing her to me and how that must have felt for her. I don't have bad feelings towards her, but sad, I guess. I get sadness for her as well, that she was always compared to me, that mum, never said to her, oh, you're so great just the way you are. Why can't you be more like your sister? And they're the things I think of when think of her now. You know, that I feel sad that I didn't notice that before. I didn't wake up to that before. All right, so this one's gone a little bit long. Didn't mean to, but I think there are so many perfect little gems in there for you today. So many beautiful messages. You are worthy of love. When you wake up to that, forgiveness comes pretty quickly, actually. Yeah, all right. Thank you, my lovelies, for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember to click like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my messages, okay? Bye.